Okay, well, here we have a controller for the ASR actuator, throttle actuator of a 1991 500 SL. It uses the first version of ASR, a second version of ASR system, and here we have just the controller, which is the potentiometer and idle control switch. Well, idle switch rather. Now, in the previous video I show how it reacted. It did work, except that at the end when you hit idle, the car would go into limp mode, where throttle actuator would not respond and ASR light would come on. So this is basically the internals of the unit. As you can see, this is the linkage and the insides of it. Now, I already unsoldered the wires that go through here, and now in my unit there's lots of corrosion over here. It's because I assume that as you know, the wiring, when they go in here, they're supposed to go inside that protective cover, and sort of like a loom, plastic loom that disintegrates, and wires are left loose, and I guess gaps are created because of that, because protective layer is disintegrated and cracks and all that. So water entered in here, I guess, and it accumulated on the bottom here, because on top is clean and on the bottom is all wet. When I opened it up, it was literally dripping water out. Now, so basically I was trying to get down inside to this very idle contacts. These are two idle contacts. Deep down in there are actual contacts. I don't know if you can see that on the video. Down in there are two contacts, I guess, to duplicate each other, fail-safe kind of. So mine were pretty much badly corroded, I would say. Now what I did is this is all gutted right now because I had to go down in there. I tried to remove it, the assembly. In here you have an opening which is sealed, and there is a retainer that holds, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little retainer, like a self-locking tab or something, that you can take out with the punch, which I did try, but I wasn't successful at all. It was all rusted together, and I actually bent the linkage, so this whole thing didn't move right. So it was pretty much epic disassembly process. So I had to just cut my losses, put it all back together, adjusted the linkage. Took me half a day, but I got it. So now it moves nice and smooth, and I went the other way, whereas I took out these screws and moved this whole assembly sideways, so switch is open to its maximum. Use a very tiny little file, and I just filed them off, and now I'm done. When I'm done, I'm gonna just spray them with some contact cleaner just to clean up a little better. Now this is first portion of the one of the problems, I would say, with the ASR and this whole controller unit. Now the second thing is the actual potentiometer. Now potentiometer I had to break out just to look at the condition of it, just to see. So here's the second part of the potentiometer. As you can see, these are little graphite surfaces where the sliders go. You see the shiny parts. This is where sliders actually touch the surface and change resistance. Here you have three prongs, two for the potentiometer and one for the signal. So basically it gets installed inside like that, okay, and inside this little piece right over here there's a tiny little slider which looks like this. See, it's a small little slider. Contacts have to be at 90-degree angle. They're spring loaded. I'm going to bend them outwards a little bit. Mine are really good. 174,000 miles. literally no wear on them, which I'm really happy about. No water got inside because it was sealed. Surface is shiny, yes, but it's not wear. It's just well, I mean, yeah, it is wear, but it's not worn off to a point where I can actually see graphite missing. Again, 174,000 miles, quite some mileage, given that water was entering, and it still didn't get to those contacts, and I'm really happy about that. So most likely, either if you have a problem with this particular unit, you would have worn out the potentiometer surfaces, or you would have bad contact switch in there, rusty contacts, or maybe misadjusted or tired spring in the contact. You can actually adjust it by removing these two screws, loosen them up, and you can turn this whole assembly to make contact engage faster or slower, I mean earlier and later, with the linkage. Either just a little bit you touch on it and contacts are already disengaged, or you have to, like in my case, I have about, I would say, 3/8 of an inch before contacts disengage. See, this is where I can feel tension on the contact. Here contacts are fully disengaged, so when you can see, like here's the tension. So it's about 3/8 of an inch. That's how it was set from the factory. I'm gonna have to play around with it, make sure that it's okay. Also, these I probably will leave alone. I don't want to really touch them because I don't want to damage any graphite surface. This one is irreparable, so I'm gonna have to glue it back together, seal it up, and test it with my digital voltmeter just to make sure readings are correct, and solder it back together, put new seal over. Actually, I'm just going to silicone this whole thing, silicone this all around here so no water gets inside, silicone this opening as well so water does not enter in there as well. And you can probably see that shiny part that I tried to remove outwards. I tried with the punch to punch it out, but no luck. So because I really wanted to clean contact very nicely by removing this whole assembly and just clean them when they're all exposed, but didn't work out. But I'm sure I just tested it with my voltmeter right here. You can hear by the sound. This is full short, this is open. So if we just try to duplicate, let's see, let me try to do this one too. Okay, now, alright, open, close, open, close. You see my switch works fine now. This is where contacts are open, I mean shorted. When the pedal gets depressed, then that means that it's not an idle anymore. Now it's in idle, and you can see no noise means that contacts are open, so it's open circuit. That's the way it's supposed to be. You give a little gas, contacts short, they stay shorted, so you hear the noise. A beeping sound means that it is short right now, so contacts are working fine. And that's how I pretty much cleaned mine, because every time on idle I would trip ASR light and car would go into limp mode. I assume because even though contacts might have been touching, but there was too much of a resistance and the car didn't like it. I did adjust the linkage at first and it did help, but not for long. Couple of cycles and it went back to the same problem. So I had to take this part off the car and try to really fix it. So this is basically how it all is designed internally. Please be careful with this little thing. If you bend these contacts, you can really make irreversible damage. So I'm going to be extremely careful pushing them back into its holder. Alright, well, 91500 SL controller for the throttle actuator. And I'm Victor from RestoreYourMercedes.com. 917-674-5599 is my number.